you. It's about love. It's about God. It's about time. It's about your life. It's about your smile. It's about your health and your hopes and your dreams, your body, your mind, and your family. It's about your relationships and your future and your impact and your legacy. It's about God. It's about peace. It's about joy. It's about faith. And it's about hope. It's about time. And it's about space. And it's about science. It's about life. It's about love and your awareness. It's about your choices and your forgiveness. It's about your confidence and your courage and your creativity and your wisdom. It's about your light, and it's about your power, and it's about your strength, and it's about your dreams and your goals and your hopes. It's about your life. It's about love. It's about faith. It's about God. It's about hope. It's about light. It's about love. It's about you. It's about life. It's about love. It's about God. I'm Queenie Brown, and I invite you to join me and the rest of us on this journey. After all, it's about you. Are you ready? Of course you are. You wouldn't have found me if you weren't. Welcome. Let's get it going. Brown, thank you so much for joining me today. Excuse me. Welcome to day 21 of the Self-Love Lessons Read Along. The Self-Love Lessons is a book that I wrote back in 2011, and it is 7 lessons that every woman must learn about herself and the power of womanhood. And so we have been reading now for 21 days. God has given me the charge to revisit the lessons because there were some lessons that I got to learn the first time around. And so because I am in another seasonal transition in my life, God suggested that I return. And so actually, he didn't suggest, he instructed me to return to the lessons, and this time to read them aloud online live with you so that we all can grow together. Okay. So we have been journeying through thus far. We're about a quarter of the way in. We're eating this elephant one bite at a time. This book is not intended for you to just be able to sit down and plow through it, because it's going to force you to confront some of the beliefs that you have about yourself, about God, about your life, about your family, about your behaviors, about your character. It's just going to help you to see you in a whole new way. And so I'm excited. So before we get started, let's do a quick roll call. Those of you who are here watching live, please enter #present. For those of you who are watching the replay, #replay. If you're a girl mom, #girl mom. If you're a fella, welcome. You can join us on this journey. Just include #fella so that I know you're here. And then if you make it to the end of this lesson, make sure you put #finished at the end so that I can keep track of those of you who are staying up to speed. All right. So we are in lesson number 1, the self-love lessons, and it is know where you are now so you can get where you're going. And yesterday we started inside the principle of self-love on page 113. We talked about what it looks like to be selfless. Sorry. We talked about what it means to be selfless and the posture of selflessness, and how that doesn't necessarily line up with what God needs from you so that he can fulfill the call on your life through you. So today we're going to talk about the opposite end of the spectrum, and that is, let me ask you a question. Has anyone ever called you selfish or self-centered? We're on page 118 for those of you watching. Oh, and if you are, let me see if I can get you the link. You can download the self-love lessons by going to www.queeniebrown.com and get your free copy. And make sure you share it with your friends. This is a free journey, so we're welcoming our friends along. Okay. Has anyone ever called you selfish or self-centered? When I think of a selfish woman, I see an entirely different picture than the picture of the selfish woman or selfless woman that I talked about yesterday. Catch that if you missed it. I see a carefree woman in great shape, dressed to impress with shopping bags in tow, sunglasses, a designer bag, flawless makeup, and credit cards to burn. Her caption says, "Believe me when I tell you, I am all about me." No, girl, I couldn't do that. I can't help you. I'm too busy. I've got me all over my mind. Don't count on me. You'll never be my priority. I will always let you down. Didn't I do something for you last year? You're asking way too much of me. Are you in the center of your own world where everywhere you look, all you see is you? After living so much of my life from a selfless place and suffering through the emotional and physical pain that was the result, I made a conscious decision to put me on the top of my list. So instead of saying or asking, "How can I help you?" I began to ask, "How can you help me?" Instead of asking, what will that cost you? Can I help? I asked, what will it cost me? And can you help? Instead of asking, how will it benefit, profit, or increase you? I started to ask, how will it benefit, profit, or increase me? Instead of asking, how can I bless you? I started asking, how can you bless me? Instead of asking, instead of saying, I don't want to inconvenience you, I would say, I don't want you to inconvenience me. Instead of saying, how can I impress you? I said, how can you impress me? Instead of saying, do I have enough for you? I'll go without. I'd say, do I have enough for me? You'll go without. And instead of saying, how could I promote you? I started to ask, how can you promote me? As I changed my paradigm to what I consider to be more self centered, I began to feel better. I felt as though I had finally begun to take care of me more responsibly. I no longer made sure that everyone else's needs were met first, but now my needs were met. And finally, I began to feel normal. I started to consider my own preferences again. Do I want to eat Mexican food or shall I have a steak? Do I want to listen to music or sit in silence? Do I want to watch an action movie or a chick flick? Do I want to turn on the heat or turn down the air? I now had a preference, and I no longer just went with the flow to accommodate the whims, preferences, and complaints of everyone around me. Instead, I now had whims, preferences, and complaints of my own. I'm sure you can see how this quickly became a problem. I challenged the status quo in every relationship in my life, and people became uncomfortable with this new. I justified my behavior by saying, for all these years, I've accommodated you and everyone else. Now it's time for all of you to accommodate me. That's when selfishness took its root in me, and I became the ugliest version of myself. That's what happens when you're selfish. It's an unattractive and repelling personality flaw that should never be allowed to take root in you. If I was invited somewhere I didn't feel like going, I stayed home. After all, I had held so many events and had invited everyone to come out, and oftentimes they wouldn't show. So now they'll know how I felt. After years of making a big fuss over friends and their birthdays and having not even a phone call on my own, I shut that down completely. My thought was, whatever. After years of being there for others financially to my own peril, and after listening for hours to senseless emotional drama and giving advice that was later used as weapons against me, I decided they'll just have to figure it out on their own or just wait till my book is released. I don't want to waste any more of my time on their drama. I'm just being honest. I had been so hurt so many times by so many circles of friends that I refused to allow anyone to get close to me. Oh, it was very subtle, but I'd conveniently be unavailable for social stuff. I didn't want to be hurt, and my fear of it caused me to isolate myself and reject any opportunity to be vulnerable to the pain of betrayal again. Taking on the posture of selfishness caused me to hurt the people in my life that had never done anything wrong, had never hurt me in any way. Selfishness made me more callous and insensitive. It made me invalidate the feelings of others, and it made me indifferent about how my actions affected people. It wasn't until a girlfriend told me how much it hurt her that I never showed up for her that I realized how deeply my selfishness had grown. I saw the sadness in her eyes, and it hurt me to know that I was the cause of her pain. It was the same sadness that I had felt before, and in that very moment, I vowed to relinquish selfishness from my life in every area. So, what is selfishness? Random House's unabridged dictionary defines selfishness as devoted to or caring only for oneself, concerned primarily with one's own interests, benefits, and welfare, regardless of others. A selfish or self centered person is engrossed in herself and her own affairs. She's limited to or cares only about herself and her needs. Selfishness is a form of narcissism, an excessive love or admiration of oneself, often characterized by self preoccupation and a lack of empathy. Selfish people are generally consumed with self preservation and a me first attitude. They tend to be intolerant of others because of demands that others may place on the selfish person. They're often quick to defend their selfish stand. Selfish people also neglect commitments, forget the things that are important to others, and are unwilling to go out of their way for others. They tend to be thoughtless and are overly consumed with their own problems, issues, thoughts, projects, etc. They show little or no interest in the thoughts or ideas of others. Selfish people take over conversations and must be in control or the center of attention. They also tend to think too highly of themselves. They shop for themselves, cook for themselves, and buy gifts for themselves with little or no thought of those around them that are in need. People in their lives often feel abandoned by them as they tend to withdraw from the lives of others completely. Because selfishness often harms others to the benefit of the selfish one, selfish people grow older and ultimately live lonely, unfulfilled lives. Remember, love doesn't take the advantage, love gives the advantage. The insidiousness of selfishness. Leave me alone and let me stay selfish. When you're selfish, you will go to great lengths to protect your posture, justify your mindset, and silence the people who challenge you. Here are some of the strategies that are used by the selfish in order to stay in their selfishness. I must admit that I've been on both of the giving and receiving end of most of these. Perhaps you'll see yourself in them as well. Strategies to stay selfish. And the truth I now tell myself. When you point out all the good that I've done, even though what strategies to say stay selfish, point out all the good that I've done, even if it was years ago or even just a few instances, my good balanced out my selfishness in my mind. The truth I now tell myself, get over yourself. That was then. All good deeds expire at midnight. What have you done today? Strategy to stay selfish, point out the flaws in others, deflect the focus from myself. Even if you are just thinking about their flaws, it deflects the focus from you and redirects the negative energy right back to them. The truth I now tell myself, yes, I have issues too, but we're talking about you. Strategy to stay selfish, project my own behavior onto others by calling them out for being selfish and doing the same thing I'm guilty of doing. The truth I now tell myself is, again, there may be some truth to that, but we're talking about you. Strategy to stay selfish is attack them verbally. The truth I now tell myself is, I'm not going to take offense. I'm going to love you anyway, and how you behave right now won't change that. The truth hurts, and the truth is you're incredibly selfish. A strategy to stay selfish is try to get them to feel sorry for me. The truth I now tell myself is, I don't feel sorry for you. I care enough about you to tell you the truth, even when it hurts. So, here are some of the long term effects of being selfish and selfless. In the spirit, did I change it? Nope, let me change it for you. There you go. Okay, selfishness from the spirit. When you're selfish, you're very underdeveloped as God blesses you through relationships. When you're selfless, you're very underdeveloped as there is little time and energy left to obey the call of God. As in your mind, and you're being selfish, you're often overdeveloped as so much time is available to build in this area. So when you're selfish, you just have time to build yourself up. You can take care of you, you can do the stuff you want to do, right? But you're being overdeveloped in that area. And then when you're selfless, you're often overwhelmed from years of imbalance managing yours and others' stress lives and multitasking. Where your body is concerned, when you're selfish, you're often overdeveloped outwardly. You look great. You're taking care of your body. Your shine is up, right? But when you're selfless, you're often underdeveloped or overweight and neglected. Where your purpose is concerned, if you're selfish, you're underdeveloped as the focus is on you and not others. Our purpose is always tied to someone else, right? If you're selfish, you're not focused on anybody else. So that particular part of you will be underdeveloped. If you're selfish, it'll be underdeveloped because you can't slow down long enough to hear complete instructions, right? As it relates to your love relationships, when you're selfish, you attract men effortlessly, but have difficulty in maintaining long-term relationships. When you're selfless, you attract men, but often find selfish men who take far too much than they give. In other relationships, when you're selfish, you have many short-term friendships and relationships. You're often very good at networking and keeping people at a distance. And when you're selfless, longer-term, emotionally fulfilling friendships and relationships, but you often feel taken advantage of and underappreciated. And where your money is concerned, when you're selfish, you're often overdeveloped and you're hoarding both money and resources. When you're selfless, you're often lacking as she tends to give away more than she has and lacks balance. So, do you see yourself in any of these? Hmm? Let me know. Hey, Veronica, good to see you, love. So, that concludes our reading for today. Tomorrow, we're going to balance the scales. We're going to talk about how do you balance it? Either you're selfish or you're selfless. Which one do you choose? And which one is the correct posture that God has ordained for us to operate from? We'll talk about all that tomorrow. So thanks for watching again today. We finished on Are You Selfish? And right now we're going to retreat to the Mother Love community where we can get a little bit more meat off that bone. So if you have any questions, feel free to join me right over there. If you missed any of this, do make sure you catch the replay. We're going to be going a little bit deeper into the self-love lesson number 1, how to know where you are so we can get where you're going. And that's the purpose of this. You got to know where you stand. Are you on the selfish end of the spectrum? Are you on the selfless end of the spectrum? We get to figure out where we stand so that as we progress through the book, we get to heal it all. All right. So thanks for watching again. I appreciate you taking the time. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. God bless. Talk soon.